Okay. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to the 39th of hopefully many episodes of Bard Advice, a D&D slash TTRPG slash life advice podcast where I, Charles Chaz Yazik, the DM, the Bard, however you may know me, do my best to answer any questions you might have for me. I hope everybody is doing well. I've had a bit of a crazy day. Pretty solid week, but definitely a crazy afternoon. And I hope everybody out there is okay. At the top of the hour of the show, we like to always remind everyone the email for the show for you to please send all questions, concerns, complaints, criticisms, critiques, bardadvice@gmail.com. It also looks like bardadvice, if that helps you remember. If you want to get some merch, you can do so over at manshorts.com. And if you'd like to contribute to anything that I'm doing musically, you can do so via PayPal, Cash App, or Venmo, all of which are Yazik, Yahzick. At the top of the show, we also like to remind, or rather give thanks to all of our members, patrons, super chatters, anyone liking the videos, watching the videos, of course, sharing them. Please rate the podcast on your respective platforms. It's good for the algorithm. And also, at the top of the pod, I would like to mention our sponsor for this week. So our sponsor this week is a book called Curse of the Usurper. And if you don't know, Curse of the Usurper is the largest 5e adventure campaign ever written, with over 1,000+ pages, 50+ maps, 50+ minis, 50+ items, and 100 unique monsters and NPCs. They also offer 400 printable Dwarven dungeon files, a custom GM screen, collectible dice, dialogue and music tracks that you can access through scannable QR codes. It's all kinds of cool, crazy stuff. There's lots of really great art in it. I've leafed through it. It's massive. It's very dense. It's essentially 3 books in one for this. And it is on Kickstarter. So if you are interested or you want to support or back this project, then just click the link in the description of this video, or you can go to Kickstarter today. Remember, it's called Curse of the Usurper. I think it looks really, really cool. And it looks like it's going to be pretty epic. So I would definitely go and check it out. That is Curse of the Usurper. Now, while we don't have really much of an art corner this week, I would like to just briefly speak on the Jacksonville Jaguars' victory in Indianapolis. Listen, there were some things that we can improve upon, but we're looking really good. And I don't know how many people in the chat care about sports ball, but I just gotta say, ooh-wee. And when you consider what else is going on in the AFC with other teams and their quarterbacks, Trevor and the Jags are looking pretty good. So yes, Chris Duval, indeed. We're going to the Super Bowl. I don't know. Maybe. I don't want to speak too fast, but I really do see us going deep. I don't see anybody else really messing with it. So, all right. Is there anything else that I wanted to talk about before we get into questions? I don't know. I don't think so. I think that's mostly it. Yeah, Calvin Ridley, most definitely. Yes, and poor Aaron Rodgers. That was really crazy. We watched that, but my buddy and I, Alex, watched that happen live, and that was crazy. I can't believe it. It's just so bizarre. But, I mean, it's not any more bizarre, I think, than the Chiefs losing to the Lions. I've said to a few people close to me, and I guess I'll say it to the people close to me on this podcast that listen to this thing every week. I think that they're gonna be calling it the Big Cat Bowl. I think it's gonna be Lions, Jags, and I also would keep my eye on the New Orleans Saints too. I think that they might be a sleeper. I don't know if the Cowboys are gonna be able to get it done on offense like they do on defense. But we can talk about sports more so. What happened with Unity, by the way? Can somebody in chat Tell me about that. Give me the Reader's Digest version. Is this something about how they said that they were going to charge people, and then of course people freaked out, and then it was like, oh no, we're not going to do that. It's just like another. It's the latest story of that. They want to charge for every install. Yikes. Well, you know, I'll say all my streaming services are going up. In fact, I've had to cut a couple of them because it's just, you know, you can't keep up with this. It's nonsense. It was one thing when they were like $4 or $5 a month, but this thing where they're like, hey, so listen, we're just sending you a friendly email notification to let you know that, listen, we know you've been paying us for a really long time at what we've considered a kind of reasonable price. Well, we're just going to like kick that up like 50-60%. South Carolina might knock off Georgia. Oh, I don't know, Bean. I don't know if I'd let my buddy Alex hear that. He'd be unhappy. Their CEO also sold off all his stock a week before the announcement, so insider trading. Yeah, but I mean, isn't it all a little insider trading? Hey, Avram, welcome. All right, well, let's get into some questions because we do have some this evening. So, I've got a list of names here. Gotta pull it up though, because otherwise it doesn't matter. Okay, so the first question this week is from Raspberry. Raspberry asks, hey, Mr. Chaz, I'm Raspberry, and I'm a fan of your music and the Man Shorts D&D shorts. I'm playing a College of Lore bard named Mobius Dickamus. Of course it's a bard. I built him as a support for the party, but our party entered a tournament with 1v1 fights in it. Oh, this is totally my wheelhouse. I don't want to place first in it. I'm aiming for 5th place. I'd appreciate advice on combat, please and thank you. I'm a level 8 human who can cast Eldritch Blast, Fireball, and Counterspell. Well, thank you for the question, Raspberry. Let's see what chat says, because I made some notes about it, and we can discuss what I said. But let's, what do you think, chat? Any recommendations for this human bard that is support who finds himself in a 1v1 tournament wherein he or she does not want to place first, place 5th? Placing 5th is the goal. Here's the first question before we go anywhere. Who knows about this? Meaning, is this a thing that you've just decided to do? Does the rest of the party know that that's kind of your plan? How about the DM? And I ask that because that's going to kind of inform your decision making, I think, in how you act. So, let's see. Need more context as to why he wants 5th instead of 1st. Yeah, well, that's a good point. Silvery bards will be your friend. Aiming for 5th is quite random. But is it for a bard? Sing a fun little ditty and smack them upside the head with the lute when they start to sing along. Are you allowed to cast spells, or is it more just melee with armor and weapons only type thing? Oh, that's an interesting point. I imagine you'd be able to cast, right? You couldn't. You wouldn't throw a bard into it. You wouldn't download a phone. You wouldn't download a car. You wouldn't put a bard into a 1v1 arena match and not allow them to cast spells. Make plays / attacks that are entertaining for the crowd instead of going for the throat. Yeah, good call, River. And that's kind of what I went for, so let's see what I said in my notes. Establishing who knows about it, I think, is important. Like, if this is just going to be a surprise to everybody, then you can kind of do whatever you want. If it's a thing where you could use an assist from the DM, or maybe a challenge from the DM, you might consider letting them know. I don't know. That's going to change everything, the dynamics. But other actions in combat, yeah? And this is, I think, good advice for everyone. It's particularly good advice for Raspberry, but it's just good advice for everybody to just remember. And I've been more aware of it as I've been playing Baldur's Gate 3. Just because I'm a very visual person, you know, I like to see the thing. And so while I love D&D and I love the visualization of it, one of the great things about Baldur's Gate 3 is that when it comes to like action economy, I can see it. I can physically see like, well, I guess I'm out of actions. So that said, it's made me very much aware of all of the other things that you can do besides attack. So that said, these are just some of the other actions that you can take on your turn that don't involve, like, straight up combat, or at least not like damage dealing combat, right? Dash, disengage. Well, you might not want to disengage in 1v1, although to River's point, that might be entertaining if it was like 1v1 and then they were like, all right, go, and then you just like ran away. Dash, disengage, dodge, push, right? Or I guess it's called shove in 5e. But, you know, you could push somebody, you could push them down, and it's like that'll probably cause like maybe some bludgeoning damage, maybe, but it's more just something you can do. And by the way, it's going to take them action economy to get back up and do whatever they're doing if you push them down. Hide, you can ready an action, you can search. You could just start like searching. That was the fun thing about Studebaker I always bring up, is that he would just kind of like wander off sometimes. That's hilarious. If you were doing that in like a 1v1 arena situation, that'd be way funny. And use object, that's another one. You could just like you could do whatever you wanted. If you didn't want to say like try and attack but I think that's why it's kind of tricky and tightropey as to how much the DM knows. So, vicious mockery every turn, see how mad you can get your opponent. Yeah, or I was thinking like Tasha's. You know, you could just hideous laughter everybody, and then what? And then they're just laughing. That'd be really fun. Really want to do an all-bard party in Baldur's Gate 3. Oh, geez, River. What an absolute disaster that would be. We'll talk more about that later. Ask the DM if you could somehow inspire yourself with bardic inspiration. Oh, yeah, of course, and bardic inspiration. Playing your music in general, because you're a bard, that's a big thing. You could just do that. That's a funny thing my buddy Cody does in our Baldur's Gate 3 game, is that he's a barbarian mostly, but I think he's got a couple levels in bard. So, like, occasionally in the middle of combat, he'll just start, like, playing the lute. And it's great. It's funny. And if it was 1v1, that would be really fun. And then I also just put as a final note, like, flavor text for the DM, like faking spells and stuff. Again, I think that this is all just about, like, things that you can do that aren't putting you at risk of finishing first. Although, I gotta be honest, you're a human bard, and you built it for support. Who else is in the party? How big of a concern is you landing in first place? I think that if you just have fun with it, is 5th place, like, do you mean 5th place of the whole? There is some context stuff needed, because it's like, do you want to finish 5th place like in the whole tournament, or you want to finish 5th place in your party? And how big is your party? If you're running a bard as pure support, then it's probably like at least 5 or 6, I would hope. But yeah, bardic inspiration, spells like sleep, vicious mockery, Tasha's, things that don't do damage, hold person, charm person. And then the bardic inspiration stuff. Turn the 1v1 into a rap battle with vicious mockery. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Just write some verses for it. That would be really funny. Particularly if nobody at the table knew any context, right? So, like, the DM just assumes that you're just going to try and do the thing, and then it gets to your turn, and you just, like, bust out a verse. 5th out of 5, or 5th out of 8, 5th out to like 20. Yeah, for sure. I don't know what that means. Maybe maybe 5th is just a placeholder for saying, like, listen, I don't want to, like, show off, but I kind of want to, like, still be in there. And I think that you can accomplish that. Also, Eldritch Blast, isn't there a thing with Eldritch Blast? People in the chat know what the technical term is. It's like an offshoot for, I guess that's just for warlocks. Is that like pact stuff when it comes to, like, expanding the the range of Eldritch Blast, expanding the range, and then as well as, like, you can add something to invocations. Thank you. Invocations. So I guess that doesn't really apply for bards, because I was thinking, like, one of the ones with Eldritch Blast is that you push the enemy back, right? So what a great thing to just be able to pop off like a D10 of damage, so it's not, like, crazy, and in addition, you're, like, pushing them back. But remember, you can just straight up shove people. Agonizing and repelling blast. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. More damage and knockback. On the flip side, if you do try to actively win the tournament, you could show your party that bards can fill more than a support role. This is the perfect opportunity to do just that. Whoa. Carlin's dropping bars in the chat. Yeah. That's a really good point. Is there a particular reason that you don't want to finish first? Because that could be a flex. That'd be a crazy flex. Particularly if you like... because, honestly, like Eldritch Blast, Fireball, and Counterspell, you'd give that to me. I think I'd do well offensively. If you're looking to... I think you just have fun with it and just and place how you place. You can pull and push an enemy. Yeah. The Eldritch Yo-Yo. But if you do, the party may want him to do just that, and maybe he's not ready for that role. Yeah, that's true too. Maybe, you know, it's possible that you built support for a particular reason. And so, yeah, maybe you don't want to seem too strong, so the party starts relying on you. I don't know. I think you'll find something in there. I think that there's some good advice in there somewhere. Mostly just have fun. But yeah, just remember all of the things that you can do that aren't combat. And I say that because I am somebody who can get lost in the combat of just like swing the sword and roll the damage. And it's like, oh wait, I forgot that I could do all this other stuff. I'm Mobius Dickus. Wait, no. What is his name? Mobius Dickamus. I'm here to say my rhymes wrap around in an infinite way. See? We've already got you covered for bars in the chat. So you'll be fine. Best of luck to you, Raspberry. I hope that works. I hope you found something valuable in there. Let's keep grinding on through. Keep it moving. The next question we have is from Max. Max asks, Dear Bard, I've been a fan of your sketch comedy and music for years. From what I've seen, you seem to be someone who is quite comfortable in your own skin. Can you speak on any insecurities or moments of self-doubt you may have experienced or encountered along the way? Thanks, and have a good one. Well, Max, I gotta be honest. I think I kind of live in a constant state of insecurity and self-doubt. If anything, I've just gotten better at appearing chill. I don't know. I guess I'm like relatively comfortable. I will say, yeah, dude, I have tons of insecurities. Beyond just like my size, and it's not just like a fat thing, it's also a big, like I'm just big. It's not just like it's not just about like fat, it's about like I break furniture and stuff. I like when if I bump into something, there's a good chance that thing's gonna break, so that's annoying. It's just I'm not very, you know, what do they call, what do they say about elves? They're like light-footed. I'm the opposite of whatever that is. Heavy-handed. I'm just like a big oaf, I guess. So, yeah, of course. I think that everybody, for the most part, if they're not like a complete sociopath, I think everybody has insecurity, has self-doubt. Lead-footed, oh, I like that. Lead-bellied. Chas the Ogre, yeah. Oh, Thunderfooted is way cooler. So, yeah. I mean, I got insecurities about my teeth. I've got insecurities about like food. I got insecurities about like money, because being an artist is not super easy. It's the opposite of Elvin. That's the secret. I'm always insecure. Yeah, that's what it is. It's just like, how do you always seem so insecure or so non-insecure? And it's like, oh, that's because I'm insecure constantly. So like you can't really tell because there's never really any moments of like true confidence. Maybe that's what it is. Yeah. I think everybody feels like a failure frequently. Let me tell you a story about what happened today, okay? I mean, and you want to talk about like insecurities and self-doubt and stuff. Man, I am a silly goose. So I left my house this afternoon. I needed to go run some errands. Notably, I needed to go to the store and get prescriptions. And before I left my house, I noted that there was fluid underneath my car that it looked like had leaked out. And I shouldn't have driven the car. It's really that simple. I should have just been like, whoop, shouldn't drive the car until I figure out what this is. But, you know, I needed to go do stuff, I guess. So anyway, I drove my car, and my car overheated, and it broke down on the highway. Not on, like, the interstate, thank goodness, but certainly on a busy road at, like, 4 o'clock on a Friday. So that was not fun. Crazy town. And thankfully, I was able to get it into the parking lot, and my wonderful mother, thankfully, was able to come and help with the tow and everything. And what's funny, and to that point, River, it was we did have AAA, thank goodness. But follow-up funny thing is that when Mom got there to see about it, we accidentally locked the keys in the truck, in the other vehicle. So now there we're sitting in the Target parking lot at 4 o'clock, and it's really hot, and it's about to rain, and my car is broken, and the keys to the truck are locked in there. So then my mom had to climb through the back window like Winnie the Pooh. And that was real fun. So, all of that's to say, today was a tough day. And there were through a lot of the day, I felt like an idiot and was just angry at myself and just like the world. It's just like ups and downs. It's just being able to manage the differences. So let me take a look at like what was any. Yeah, you just wanted me to speak on them. Yeah, dude, I question everything I do on a regular basis. Every week I post this show, and the other show, and anything I ever do. I'm insecure. It's insecure. But that's okay. I think that is what makes us human. One of the things that differentiates us from like AI, right? Because AI is certainly not insecure. They will confidently give you incorrect information. And some people are that way. But I think that most people they just want peace. And so as a result, they're just kind of in a constant state of like, you know, and also times are tough right now, just in general. People are struggling. Needed my car fixed. Yeah, I'm actually still looking. So that I've got it. I was thankfully able to get it towed to a local dealership who I've taken my cars to for years and years and years. They're very good people. They're fair. So they're going to look at it Monday. Ironically, the desire for peace makes people not at peace. Yeah, that is weird. But everybody, I think, is just kind of a little, ooh. I think you just got to keep going. That's the answer to all of it, really. Is just keep going. I don't think that there's anything that any of us can do to assert any kind of control. And I think that people think that they can with stuff like money and religion and politics, but we don't know. We don't know what's going on until it's happening. Insecurity can make us pause and ask questions, which is often handy and gets mental checks and balances happening. No doubt, that's a good point. You know. Gee whiz, if I was never insecure, I might be worried. Imagine if you were just like confidently, just like walking through life, just like, man, I've got this figured out, and just near a moment of self-doubt. I don't know. Negative emotions aren't just self-destructive. They can help too. Yeah, that's true. Try and just make the best of stuff and just do better. Just try and be better. And also, another quick note that might help, like, something that helps me too is like most people are not as affected by or interested in what you're doing as you might think. Right? And I don't mean that in a bad way, But what I mean is, like, I think I've spoken about this before on the podcast. Like, I used to think that if somebody cut me off in traffic, that they were being a real jerk because they clearly saw me and they didn't care enough about my safety. They cared more about their getting there faster than my safety, and they just jumped over. The reality is way more likely that that person never even saw me because they didn't even look. You know what I mean? So, like, if you're in a situation where you're, like, out in public or something, or you're saying or doing something and you feel, like, insecure, chances are good, like, you're the most concerned about it in the room. Most people probably wouldn't even know what you were talking about if you brought it up. Like, oh, hey, man, you know, this is really bothering me. And then people would be like, oh, what do you mean? I am totally that guy, by the way, because I'm really unobservant. So, like, on a regular basis, people say stuff to me like, oh, yeah, sorry about, you know, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, I didn't even hear you or see that, or, you know. So, it's just ego stuff, too. It's just battling the ego. Balance. Hanlon's razor, never attribute malice to which is adequately explained by stupidity. My anxiety is why I got a medical card. It shuts my brain off in a way that I can think about other things that aren't so negative and obsess over them. Yeah, that's the real thing too, is getting stuck in the cycle. Is what I say when people, you're so strong, but when I don't have a chance, neither is being insecure. Yeah, you just got to keep going. Just keep trying, and I think you'll be okay. So, let's keep moving on. Hopefully you found an answer in there, Max. Well, I mean, I certainly ran through some insecurities, so there you go. This next question, according to the listo names, is from Briff Mashiko. Probably butchering the pronunciation of that, but let's get into it. This is about BECMI. The reason I'm writing is because I'm a returning DM after a long time, 27 years. I am currently running a new group of never-before players through a campaign using BECMI. I chose BECMI as an easy-to-learn system for which I am happy to give guidance, but no matter how much guidance these new players are not able to grasp the freedom they have to explore the world or the freedom they have for choice. The sandbox options might not be completely understood. They seem to take the easiest choices with most gold as a reward. Well, I hate to tell you, but that's most parties. Also, not sure if they are familiar with fantasy literature. Mostly they make the worst decisions, lol. Again, you know, most parties. Anyways, looking for advice. My players are fun, smart peeps, but maybe misguided, or maybe it's me. I'm not too proud to blame myself. We still want to have fun. As a bunch of friends, our sessions are still good. Anyways, let me know. Thanks and regards. Well, thank you for the question, Briff. Let's go to chat first, because I've got some notes on this, but any knee-jerk reactions in chat? Don't let things get you pent up. Oh, let's talk about BECMI first. Yeah, sorry about that. So let me give a little context for anybody that does not know. Here we go. BECMI is shortened. It's an anagram, right? Isn't that what those are called? Acronyms? Basic rules. So it's basic, expert, companion, master, immortals. So these are, a lot of people recognize probably the red box on the top left. These are D&D books / modules / I don't know what you would really call them. I guess they're books that were released in the early to mid 80s, right? So I think it was like the first one came out in like 83, and then they were released through like 86. So the thing about BECMI is that, and just on these books, so the basic rule set, I think only took you up to like level 4. So essentially it was kind of like, it was an iteration, and it was released around the time of AD&D, kind of like alongside it. And basically what it was just kind of, I think, expanding upon the OD&D rules in sense of expanding the adventures into higher levels. So the first one in the basic rule set takes you up through level 4. Expert takes you through, I want to say, like level 8, maybe even level 10. And then companion is like up through 14 or 15. Master is like up into the 20s. And then Immortals is just like a totally different thing where you become essentially like superheroes, where you're just able to, like, you're not even using weapons at that point. You're just like, you know, flying around and shooting stuff out of your hands and such. So this is between original D&D and AD&D-ish. Yes, kind of around the same time. The question they need to ask themselves is this: is the party having fun? If they are, then that's all that matters. If they're enjoying hoarding gold and making bad choices, let them. True. If you've had a hard-ass like Barry DM and you're used to being guided along hard rails, then you may be too gun-shy to go out and play in an open sandbox. Yeah, that's a really good point, too. And you mentioned that they were new players. Now, when you say never before players, do you mean never before players of BECMI or never before players of D&D? Because I got to be honest, for somebody like, so for someone such as yourself who has been a DM for so long and has had experience with this stuff, BECMI seems easy in your head, right? It'd be like me talking about 3.5. Like, I just know it in my head and it makes sense. But I think that you might consider trying to put yourself in the shoes of you as a new player, because when I started playing, I was incredibly overwhelmed. And there's still stuff that I don't know that sometimes if I'm playing, people call on like, oh, well, you can't do that. And it's like, whoa, really? I always thought you could do that. And it's like, oh, no, the 3.5 rule has always been this. And it's like, whoa. So if they're brand new players, BECMI can seem like a lot to them if they've never played the game at all. So let's take a look at what's chat's name. Master level went to 36. Whoa. Releasing pent-up emotion is good. I find boxing bags and singing good methods, but they certainly aren't the only way. Good communication is also a good thing. One thing that is probably the best modules available, since OD&D, AD&D, and 2nd edition mods are basically interchangeable. Oh, interesting. I've had a hard time playing BECMI, and you've played 3, 5, 4, and 5. Yeah, I never played BECMI. Looks like fun. Options, or freedom, as you call it and consider it, may be shackles to somebody who doesn't know what they're doing, and probably are. And I just think back to like when I was a new player, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And something else to keep in mind is like, they don't know what they can do if they're brand new players. And so you do have to railroad a little bit. So the notes that I put down for some things that you can do to help in this situation. Obviously, you want to talk to the party. I always bring that up to anybody that's ever having a problem, whether you're a player or a DM. Have you talked to the rest of the people in your party about it? Because that's number one. If they don't know that there's an issue, then, I mean, how are they going to know there's an issue, right? So communication, just bringing it up, even casually, where you're just like, hey, you know, just communicate it to them like you did it to me. Just be like, listen, this is the deal. This is the business. What's going on? And hey, they might surprise you. Somebody might be like, I'll tell you what's going on. I've been waiting for you to ask what's going on so I could tell you that this sucks and we want to do something else. Or they might be like, well, what do you mean? Well, we didn't even realize this. Well, what can we do to help? So definitely communicate with the party. These are just some other options and notes that I put down. I would say to make sure that the characters, or rather the players, and their PCs have well-defined backgrounds, goals, and expectations. A lot of that's usually established in a session 0, but you may need to like revisit that. Creating memorable NPCs that create incentive. You know, you can initiate. I know that you probably feel like in your experience that it's like, well, they have the whole, you know, the world is their oyster, the world's at their feet, and they're just not doing anything. But the smallest little thing, and likely the smallest little thing that you don't think would affect them at all, is going to create a whole world of story for them. Perfect example, I've been playing Baldur's Gate 3. We're like halfway through, I think, or we're like getting into the meat of or finishing up Act 2. And all I could tell you about in that game is like dyes and my cowboy hat. Dice for clothes and different cool armor and my cowboy hat. Because that's what matters to me. So, I think just having like a general house cleaning meeting about it with everybody and just like getting readdressing people's goals and expectations. You can initiate, and now I don't say that to make you feel like that's always on you. Obviously, the players have got to put a little effort into it too. But again, if they don't know there's a problem, they don't know there's a problem. So definitely address it with them before you hold that against them. Because it might just be complete ignorance on their part of being like, oh, well, we thought that, you were the one that, it's like the Spider-Man meme. Well, we thought, and it could all be solved by just talking about it. Other little things, you could provide encounters with multiple solutions. That's putting it more on you. You could try another edition, even if it's just like a one-shot as like a palate cleanser. So like maybe just like run an easy like 3-5 or 5e one-shot. And I know that you're probably not going to want to hear this, but if these are players that are brand spanking new to D&D, you might find yourself having more success in getting them really into the game and wanting to kind of steer things themselves if you used an easier version like 5e. You can make it your own, and believe me, I am no stranger to having to kind of... I'm never going to say that 5e is better than 3.5, but 5e is kind of what's happening now. And while you can always play whatever games you want to, there's a reason that 5e was written the way that it was in terms of its streamlining. I've always said this. I think that 4e is the edition that we never talk about. 3.5 with 5e, I think that they just took all of the best elements of all of the 3.5 books, and obviously, stuff that came even before it, and just streamlined it all. So it's really easy to understand. It's really easy to fluctuate and do different cool stuff that in 3.5 would have taken you 4 or 5 books. You can just do all as the base class now. And also spellcasters are like crazy viable early level. So anything in there, hopefully that helps. 4E was bad, but not that bad. It was still pretty bad. Yeah, well, 4E is where they started taking away the negative racial traits, which is just like, what? What are we talking about? What do you mean? There's a lot of inspiration for turning 5e into a system to cover more than just high fantasy, too. Yeah. Well, I think you could find something in there, Briff. Like I said, I think that a lot of this is resolved with just a conversation. From there, you can kind of figure out how to move forward because, I think you could very well be surprised. I have a feeling. Something tells me that you're going to bring it up and somebody's going to be like, yeah, we've been meaning to say something. We didn't want to bring it up because, you put so much effort into it, but we're not really feeling this. And then it's like, if and when that happens, then deal with that then. But you'll never know. And if you don't say anything, it'll probably just keep going on how it's going, right? Isn't that what they say? If you don't change anything, nothing changes. The new PHB, etc. comes out next September, so maybe wait to purchase. Oh, are they re-releasing the 5e PHB, or is this like part of the new? The Avenger class in 4e, like a monk paladin. Oh, that does sound fun. Whoa. I wonder if you could, man, that sounds like something that would have been in like the Complete Champion, or like the Complete Warrior or something. Oh, man, I miss those books. Anyway, thank you for the question, Briff. We got to keep moving because we've got, yikes, we've got 3 more questions here. And we'll do a little chat. And I don't have any, I don't think I have any, no, I don't have any follow-ups this week. But we do have some more questions. So thank you for the question, Briff. I hope that gives you an answer or at least points you in a direction. The next question we have, according to the list of names, is from Cat Jazz. And Cat Jazz asks, my question is for the wrestling fans of the Man Shorts cast and crew, which I think only extends really to me and Jay. Have any of you ever played the old WWF RPG? Well, thank you for the question, Cat Jazz. Now, I will say that we will definitely talk more about this specifically, as well as just like wrestling and RPG and stuff in general, at a future time when I have Ray Hagley, the gentleman and friend of mine who plays Lance on the D&D editions, on Bard Advice as a guest. I don't know when that's going to be happening. I'd like it to be soon. We'll have to figure that out. But all of that's to say, the answer for me is no. And I'm pretty sure that it's a no from Jay. But I also feel like I really should have asked him. Because I feel like it would be a thing that if I talk to him about now, or if he sees this, it's going to be like, oh, dude, not only did I play that game, but I had like, I had all the expansions and stuff for it. Yes, there is a plan for there to be guests in the future. That's the plan. So, I never played the WWF RPG, but it sounds like lots of fun. In fact, I don't think I've ever played a wrestling. The closest that we've ever played, that I've ever come to doing wrestling RPG stuff is the show, is doing like Wrestling Edition. Which, by the way, we're gonna make it another one of those at some point. Never really got into wrestling. It would be cool to see Jay run a campaign / one shot using that system, though. Yeah, and I'm very surprised that there's not more crossover. And obviously, there's crossover. But I'm way surprised that there's not more crossover between, like, professional wrestling or just, like, sports entertainment in general, right? Like, sports and nerd stuff and, like, anime and stuff. Because it's all the same. That's what it is. Like, dude, like, D&D and basketball are the same. It's just, like, the stories... The appeal is and wrestling, the appeal is in the characters. It's in the heroes and the villains. And it's like, yeah, the game's there's structure and rules, but it's really about these characters. If I told you I'm standing next to one of the men that... Our Steve Jackson games had masked Mexican wrestlers. Yeah, there's a couple of them. There are a couple of wrestling RPGs. World Wildlife Foundation, yeah. There's a Wendy's RPG called Feast of Legends. Oh, jeez. Yeah, there's like an RPG for everything now. Even more so these days after the whole OGL debacle. Imagine how many people's ears and eyes perked up when that went down. And they were like, whoa, what's this? A vacuum for third-party publishers. Let's go pick that up. A KFC one, too. That's outrageous. Yeah, well, I've not heard back any hard details yet. We don't have any kind of anything really set, but I am looking into developing a D&D supplement myself for the Man Shorts. And also, we should be getting dice in at some point, hopefully by the end of this year. New dice. It's about sharing an adventure or story unless you actually also do the real life thing. True. Although, I don't know too many IRL warlocks. Been meaning to play the Power Rangers one. Yeah. Power Rangers, that would be fun. I've played a lot of different ones. There's one that Rigsby was telling me about one time. Kyle, the guy that plays Waylon on the show. Rigsby was telling me about it's something like it's called something the Apocalypse, and like the idea of it is that you actually like start the game as yourself and you only have in character like the things that you actually have in your pocket and stuff. Well, talk to me Discord about dice. Yeah, we could talk. Yeah, sorry also, by the way, I've been like vacant or rather absent on Discord this week. I've been busy. But that said, we got a lot of good stuff done this week in terms of recording. So we got some good stuff in the can. Justin's gone out west to do a shoot for a movie. So, which, by the way, just for everybody's reference, it is not. They got an exception for the SAG-AFTRA thing. It's a more independent feature. So he's no picket line crosser. Just so everybody's aware of that. But all of that's to say, I'll have more time, and I plan to be in the Discord more. I'm gonna try to be. So yes, we can talk about it. More click-clack goblin rocks. Yeah, no doubt they're coming. Trained as a cleric IRL. Heck yeah. Well, yeah, it's funny that I say that as an IRL bard, but you know. Oh, don't worry, River. He's not to that extent. So we did it. We answered that one. So, got 2 more questions. This next question is from Matt. And Matt asks, question for the Bardad. My wife doesn't have a lot of experience with games that use imagination. Her family hardly ever played card or board games. When we have had game nights with friends, she played reluctantly, but almost enjoyed it. I would love to share my love for creating stories with friends, but I'm not sure how. I have asked her to join us just to see if she might like playing an RPG, and she seems a bit reluctant to join. How can you help someone overcome the reluctancy to try something new and strange? Well, thank you for the question, Matt. So I can sort of kind of relate to this. One thing that I will say is that while obviously members of, you know, everybody, people from all walks of life enjoy D&D, but I will say that it does seem to tend to be more men. Although, you know, certainly in the last decade, last 5 years, there's way more women involved, and that's great. But I just, you know, it's cops and robbers stuff, which is kind of boy stuff, which is, you know, my wife is certainly not that she can't appreciate and respect and enjoy a good story or a good game, but I think that some of that is just certain people, it's just they're not really about it. What I put in my notes is, like, the first thing that you should do, and this is just advice that I would give any married person, is to listen and understand, like, and make sure that you listen and understand. Because I have a tendency, and I don't know if you're this way, but I have a tendency to find whatever the problem is and address it. So, like, I have a tendency to be like, oh, what's going on? Oh, and so it's like I assume that there's a problem and there's a solution for the problem, and that I'm going to be the one that installs that solution. And so, as a result, sometimes I can tend to jump the gun before really understanding what my wife is saying. So that's number one. I would make sure that you just listen to what she says about it and make sure that you understand where she was coming from. Once you do that, I think that, you know, you need to provide as much information as you can about the game and maybe kind of give her a pitch. And even if you have to kind of like write it down or like kind of rehearse it and figure it out, just like get yourself a little elevator pitch that's like, listen, this is what I'm going to say that it, you know, the things that might get her interested in it. The reason that I said the thing about listening and understanding is that her reluctance to join the game might not have to do anything to do with the game. It could do with any number of things. It could do with the fact that you play at your buddy's house and it's a 40-minute drive. I'm not saying that's the case. I'm just saying that could be. It could be that she doesn't maybe like your friends or one friend in particular. It could be that she's just genuinely not interested in the game. But make sure that you understand why she's reluctant first, and I believe that will guide you in how to handle it. Because I got to be honest, buddy, you might just have to come to terms with the fact that she's just not going to be into D&D. And you're just going to have to scratch that D&D itch with your friends. And that's okay. You know, like, I don't need my wife to play Baldur's Gate 3 with me for me to enjoy it. I don't need my wife to watch football with me for me to enjoy it. although she does, usually reluctantly. Although she's been kind of getting into it a little more lately, and particularly this year, since like we're probably going to be good. So, but listen, all of that's just to say is that it's like, you know, she might not ever get into it, but you understanding why she's reluctant is going to answer, I think, a lot of the questions for you as to how to move forward and how to handle it. Because she might say something to you. It's the same kind of thing with the gentleman playing the BECMI game, right? Like unless you talk about the problem, you're not really understanding the problem. I highly doubt that the issue is just that it's like, well, she's never really done it, so she doesn't really care. It's like there's probably something else. And I think if you dig a little and, you know, listen a little, not saying you don't, just saying, just a reminder as someone myself who has trouble listening. I think that if once you know what the reluctance is, then that'll guide you in how to overcome it. Let's see what some of the things chat is saying. D&D may be geared towards simulated warfare, but one doesn't have to run a combat-heavy D&D game. True. Often it is intimidating to learn a system like D&D. Maybe drop in some educational material and to get her interested to see what the basics and what happens to understand your passion. Yeah, show her some of our videos if she's not seen them. I think that we do like a pretty good job of kind of just like playing out like what it looks like and what it feels like. Although, you know, obviously it's scripted. But, you know, a lot of the jokes and stuff and interactions and, you know, situations I come up with are like based in reality, usually based in something that I've either experienced myself in game or heard about. You could try showing her rows of other people playing. Yeah. Critical Role, Dimension 20. Show her how fun it can be. You could also try running a little mini one-shot for her. Oh, that'd be way fun. That'd be cool. Yeah, if you just did like a little one-on-one one-shot. That'd be a cool way to show her. That's actually a really great idea, because if the reluctance is not because of the game, then that interaction or that little like one shot would prove that, at least for you, to be like, oh, well, actually, it turns out that she is kind of into it and thinks it's cool, but she just doesn't really like it because Dustin's going to be there and she doesn't really like Dustin. Sorry, Dustin. But you know what I mean? Like find out what the problem is first. Bean says, it took my wife 10 years to try it once and she enjoyed it in the summer. Hopefully schedules work out so you can play in person again and she can join. Nothing wrong with couples having separate hobbies and interests. Of course, you want to share them, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have to share all of them. Yeah, dude, no doubt. And listen, straight up, there is stuff that my wife likes to watch and do that I'm just like, no. And she knows that it's just like a no-go thing. So it's just like, you know, everybody, you just try and enjoy what you can. What, you got a question? What's the question? Rocks fall, everybody dies. That's not a question. Ask what kind of story she'd want to tell. It is a great team building exercise. Also, it's fun, you know? D&D's fun. Yeah, those are all good points I think chat made. So I think you could find something in there. So I hope that gives you something to go on. And we have only one more question. And it's going to be a great question that's going to act as a good segue, I think, into chat. So let's get into it. This last question of the evening, as if you thought I would allow us to get through an episode without it, is from Chris. Chris asks, previously you had mentioned you're surprised at the lack of players choosing Cleric in BG3. Baldur's Gate 3. Yes, that does surprise me. I've heard the reason for this is because players want to keep Shadowheart in their party. So who are you romancing in your game? Well, that depends, because I have a couple of games going. But, oh boy, what did I do with these things? I don't know where I put the images for this, but what we're going to do is just, we're going to do this. I'm going to just add them as I'm talking about it, right? So we can look at the Jaguars for a second while I go in and add this thing. We're going to add a new source, because I did actually make the images for this. Well, There it is. There's Karlach. So in the game that I'm playing with, let's see, transform, we do stretch to screen. There we go. There's Karlach. So Karlach is who I was attempting to romance in the playthrough that I'm playing with my buddies, where I'm the dragon, I'm the blue dragonborn cowboy Althalos, blue dragonborn fighter. Although at the moment I'm an Eldritch Knight fighter, but I'm gonna respec because I've got this cool idea for making him a gunslinger. But I've got some images of him too that I want to show, just because I'm proud of, because they're cool looking. But this is Karlach. That's the answer to the romance question. Don't know how good it's going. In fact, I think I might have kind of like jumped the shark, as it were. Like I think I might have passed the event horizon where like it's an option with Karlach, but I don't know. I'm not sure of that actually. We'll have to confirm that later. All right, let me see if I can get these other images up, because they're way cool. If I can figure out how to do it. Ooh-wee, they're neato. So this, I believe. Yeah, dude. There he is. There's Cowboy Althalos, my Eldritch Knight fighter, Dragonborn. And he's got a cowboy hat because it's super cool. And on that note, hopefully this is not like a big spoiler for anybody, although I doubt it. You know, just deal, because it's cool looking. It's going to be cool looking, because this one, I think it's this one. Yeah, dude. There he is again. Good old Cowboy Al. And, yeah, man, I've had tremendous amounts of fun playing Baldur's Gate 3. And I think it is, River. Thank you for the hat compliment. I got to tell you, the cowboy hat is like half of my character. Romance whoever Sarah plays is a self-preservation strategy. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Just do whatever you have to do to like keep Sarah happy. I don't have BG3 waiting for it to come out on Xbox. When it does, I'm playing an Evil Dark Urge playthrough, and I'll end up probably romancing. You know what's so crazy about the Dark Urge thing? Didn't even know about it. A Hamilton version. Oh, that might be fun. Oh, and in case anybody didn't know, we're officially in chat. That's where we're at. I don't know about Starfield. I'm sure eventually I'll play it, definitely. I will say, I did see a really funny thing about how there's lots of stuff that they're going to probably have to patch, I imagine, in an update and stuff. But I saw this thing about how, like, all ships take a hit in like the center of the ship in Starfield. Is this true? Does anybody know what I'm talking about? And so this dude created this ship that essentially has no center, and so as a result he just never gets hit. Because every laser or, you know, fireball or whatever that people are using to shoot at each other in ships, whatever's coming at you is all going to the same exact spot. And if you don't have any like actual ship there, they just go through. Dark Urge is very twisted. Yeah, isn't that the one where the dude like boots the squirrel? Keep getting your rear handed to you in Starfield. Well, sorry to hear that, but I will say, Olin, I gotta say that sounds like that makes me want to play it, just because it's like, oh, it's a challenge. It's a challenge. Question for everybody who's playing BG3. Do you guys prefer playing single player so you have more companion interaction, or do you prefer playing multiplayer with friends instead of companions? For me, I like playing with my friends. I will say, I kind of think it's silly that you can't just run for custom players. I think that's kind of silly. And I know that there is a way for you to do it, like, technically, because what we found out in my group is that once you establish a party, that's your party. And I think that there are plans to change that. I hope. I've heard of this elusive, maybe it's just a rumor, but this wardrobe function that will allow people to kind of cycle out players so that you can either replace one of your party members who isn't able to make it with one of the NPCs that's already in your camp, or you could just cycle in a whole new character entirely. So I'm excited for them to add that. I'm excited for it to come to other systems and to be cross-play. But yeah, it's weird to me that there's not just an option. Oh, sorry. So what I was going to say is that, like, when you have your 4 players together, whether everybody shows up or not, those are your party members. You can't, at the moment, rotate them out. So as a result, somebody else, I think whoever's running the session, whoever like houses the session or whatever, is in control of the other player. Although that can be moved, so like other people can put. Anyway, that's all to say, like, technically, if you wanted to, you could start an instance of BG3 wherein everybody kind of creates a character, comes into the world, and then you could just load it up yourself and play without them there. Although I think that causes bugs. I think that causes it not to work the way that it's supposed to. I've heard that there's particular achievements or even particular plot points in the game that cannot be done if you're doing it that way. There is a mod for all custom characters and for more than 4 players. Okay, cool. I've heard... Oh, the wardrobe's already been patched. Oh, sweet. Jeez, how did I miss that? You just need withers. Oh, dude, believe me, I'm familiar with withers. I talk to that guy all the time. I've got to talk to him actually the next time I play because I need to respec. Let's see here. We got a question from Gene. A friend is writing up a D&D scene. We're doing a fallen deity being revived under a current school. Deity is a death deity. What gods could we use for a base? So, what are the dead gods? The Raven Queen is a standard in 5e, River says. You love using Null as your death god. Vecna, Necro Party. Oh, man. And you got a question as well. How do you adjust when you make mistakes as a DM, Estelle? How do you adjust when you make mistakes as a DM as gracefully as possible? When you make mistakes, meaning what? Like, I don't know, when you're wrong about something? Or when you don't fully understand something? Familiar with the 2nd generation Yu-Gi-Oh! It's essentially the 2nd season arc with D characters. Can you elaborate on that, Estelle? Also, while you do that, I did want to mention this before I leave. If there's anybody in this chat or anybody that listens to this that is a 2D or 3D artist, someone that draws, I think I have what I consider to be a very, really strong, solid, good idea for a webcomic. Yeah. See? There's that confidence we talked about. There's that insecurity creeping in. I have a really good idea for a webcomic. I think it's awesome. I'm in the very early stages of developing it and need people that can draw and draw well and that are interested in drawing. I will be forthright there and transparent. This is not a paid gig. However, the goal, of course, in making it would be to release it serially, weekly, and monetize it. And I believe that the story is cool, and I believe that I've got, between different social media platforms and stuff, I've got a couple 100,000 followers. I think we could, I think we could make it pretty profitable pretty quickly. So, if you are somebody that draws, and you're interested in contributing to this thing that's really cool, then hit me up. Send me an email at bardadvice@gmail.com. Like, forgetting what circumstances a move can be made. Don't stress. You know, keep a book with you and also Google stuff. But, you know, it happens. It's just part of it. It's just like, you know, at the end of the day, Estelle, you as the DM matter even more than the rules. I can't tell you the amount of times people have been like, oh, that's not raw. And it's like, oh, but I said it though. Right? Except that I'm the DM though. There's that also, which is probably the most important thing. I would I think the short answer is don't be hard on yourself. Nobody knows all the rules. Nobody knows all the circumstances. Nobody can account for everything. And the people that do are kind of annoying. So just do your best. And just, I think that as long as you're honest and, own mistakes and try to be better, that's all you can do. You're already doing what you need to be doing. And yes, thank you, Pirate, for that link. There's a link to the Discord in the chat here if you'd like to join us in the Discord for more discussions and expanding conversations. You do have a friend who's an amazing artist who does some amazing work. Well, Gene, send him my way. Anybody that knows somebody, anybody that knows somebody that knows somebody that knows something about it, send me an email, bardadvice@gmail.com. Or, even better, join the Discord. We could talk about it in there. But it's a really cool idea, I think. Yeehaw, gang. Wow, we're already here at the end? Gee whiz, I looked over, I didn't even see what was going on. What happened? We're already at the end, team. We did it. We did questions. We did chat. We did the sponsor. We did all of it. We did it all, gang. So, I am going to remind everyone here at the end, before we get out of here, of the email, which is bardadvice@gmail.com. Please send all questions, concerns, criticisms, critiques, all of the cuz. Send them to bardadvice@gmail.com. If you want to get merch, i.e. shirts, shorts, mugs, phone cases, manshorts.com, hit it up. Christmas is coming. Holidays are around the corner. Get yourself some stuff, or stuff for a friend. And if you'd like to contribute to anything that I'm doing musically, you can do so via PayPal, Cash App, or Venmo, all of which are Yazik, YAHZICK. I will be back here next week, same Bard time, same Bard channel, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Man Shorts YouTube channel. The audio for this podcast, which if you're listening, you already know, comes out tomorrow, Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am very grateful for this show. We didn't do any good things of the week this week, but that's okay. We'll just leave it for next week. We'll talk about great stuff then. I hope that everybody has a fantastic week and a better weekend. I look forward to seeing you next time, and